Now, where did I put them? Here it is. Welcome to the Toolbox. Tools for life and everything in between. Stuff you can use or toss, it's up to you. Hey everybody, thanks for coming back. This is episode 15, I think, of Tools for the Toolbox, and I have a fantastic guest with me today, but as you can see, we are now in video. This is a new stream for me, so we're going to see how it goes from there. But we're going to start off right off the bat with a simple question that I always ask. Who are you, and what is your military background?
Hey, Chance. First of all, buddy, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you so much for the job you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like I always said, one story could be somebody else's recovery story, right? So it's I think it's important for everybody to talk it out. So it's a good thing for sure.
My pleasure having you.
Yeah. So I'm John ONeill. I was born and raised down in Cape Breton, down in Glace Bay, Nova Scotia. As a child, growing up was a little bit different. My parents passed away at an early age, so I was kind of moved around a little bit, back and forth. But then I ended up growing up in a fantastic home, friends of my mom, and I think I always inspired to do something that was bigger than I was. And the military was always kind of that thing that always sat in the back of my mind, and I thought about. So after I finished high school, I went off to trade school and I started taking heavy duty mechanics, and it just wasn't for me. I was in there, I was going through the motions, but it just wasn't enough of a thrill. So I put my application in for the military, and next thing you know, they called me and they're like, "Hey, we got a job offer," and they were like, "Do you want to be RCR or Patricia?" And I'm like, "I have no idea what either one is." So I'm like, he's like, "Do you want to live on the East Coast or the West Coast?" And I said, "The East Coast." And he's like, "Okay, RCR it is. You're leaving for Cornwallis on June 24th. This was back in 1994. And the way I went, I got on a flight to Halifax and a bus ride to Cornwallis, and that was my first introduction to the military.
You know, I've always told people when they're getting in to go somewhere else, and nobody ever believes me.
Yeah.
I had my cousin signed up right after I retired, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be in the Armored Corps. I'm going to go with the Strats." And I'm like, "Man, go out east. Just like start over, meet new people, new area, enjoy life. You don't everyone knows Alberta from Alberta. You don't need to be here, right? Go somewhere else."
Yeah, go
But
somewhere else.
I did the same thing when I got in, right? I was like, I want to go back to Alberta. That's where I'm from. Boom.
Yep.
So I went
Yeah.
straight back.
So true. So true.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. Everyone wants to be close to home.
Yeah.
But really, I think the best thing you can do is boom, go somewhere else, be somewhere new. I mean, the best time I had in the military was when I was in Meaford with you, under you, was it was so enlightening, having never worked with anybody really from the East Coast before. So yeah, I hear you though, going like, where do you want to go? I want to be close to home. That makes sense, right? All your friends, your family, everybody's there.
Yeah. And then after you leave, you realize that you're never really gonna ever go back home.
Yep.
You know, the East Coast was New Brunswick, and that was as close as I can get in the Royal Canadian Regiment, unless you took a posting with reserve unit or something like that. So when they were talking East Coast, in my mind that was going back to Cape Breton, but it really wasn't. It was getting as close to East Coast as you could, and for me it was Petawawa.
Well, that's not really close at all, but
not at all. That's
close,
where I ended up.
Closer than Shiloh, closer than Edmonton, right? That's
sure. Yeah,
that's better. But wait, 94. Would the Patricia still been in Calgary at that point in time? Or they went over in 92 or went up in 92, something like that.
Yeah, I think they went just before that. So
anyway,
so
you show up in Petawawa, brand new private ONeill.
Get a Cornwallis. I graduated on a Friday night in Cornwallis. Was on a bus Saturday morning for Ottawa, and right up to Petawawa we went and started battle school on the Monday. And once again, nothing better than a big fire hose of inspiration and whatever you want to call it coming at you. And so battle school and finished up and ended up posted to the 1st Battalion, the Royal Canadian Regiment in Petawawa. And that's where it all began for myself. And there wasn't a lot going on. It was the 90s. We were in a pay freeze. There wasn't a lot of training. We didn't have the best of kit, so they were some interesting times. And just like every soldier, I wanted to deploy, right? And so yeah, so my first opportunity was in 1998. We deployed over to Bosnia, out with Charles Company as I believe I was an AVGP driver. I'm kind of dating myself a little bit now because that's at the front gate of most of the bases now as a museum piece.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. So
I
yeah,
haven't even heard of the AVGB in years. But
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's funny. Most of the vehicles I've learned on are parked at front gates.
Well, I guess when you got in the 90s, they would have been what, 30
Yeah,
years old at that point in time. So
yeah,
yeah, near it.
yeah.
There, we have a ferret at what's the R, and every so often we'll have one random guy who's like qualified on the ferret from 30 years ago, and we'll use it for change command parades and all kinds of stuff. And it is kind of hilarious because everyone looks at it like, what the hell? Like,
What is that vehicle?
Yeah. And I told a bunch of privates or a bunch of sappers at the unit when they first showed up, and they were all like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "This is the coolest vehicle you'll ever look at because it's got 4 gears forward and 4 gears reverse." And you can bomb down the street straight up, stop dead, turn around, and not even have to turn around, just and rip it back. And they're all like, "That seems dangerous." And I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yes. But that would take the fun out of it if it wasn't dangerous.
Exactly. But I was thinking, like, when these things are made, it's what, 1970 something, and they're like, safety.
Yeah.
Who needs that? Screw that noise.
Yeah.
So okay, so you go to Bosnia. How was that?
That was a I think it was, them days of Bosnia were a great starter to your career. I think it's to get out there. It was pretty quiet in Bosnia when I was there in '98. There was my dogs were barking as somebody walked in. So yeah, it was quiet. We did lots of patrols, but you could also get on your bike and head downstairs and go downtown for a bike ride and stop at a cafe. So life was pretty good. It was quiet. It was not a lot going on. We had a riot, and that was probably the most entertaining part of the tour. Very fulfilling tour though, like being able to get out with the local population and chat, have a hay box lunch with or something. And so very, very fulfilling tour. I think it was nice to get out and see all that stuff, and I had a great time. It's a 7-month tour. Come back, and that was in 1998. So we got back, and literally Kosovo was firing up, and we were told on a parade. I think we were only back maybe 5 months, and we're like, hey, you guys are not going to Kosovo, don't worry. I think 3 months after that, we're on a flight going to Kosovo. So I right back in 1998, got to deploy to Kosovo, but this time I went with Recce platoon. And that was it was my introduction into Recce, and I think that really paved that tour, and that group of people really paved my path for me in the RCR with Recce platoon, and trying to find some high speed. So yeah, I went to Kosovo with Recce, and we were doing some pretty cool stuff. Got to work in small groups. Great experience. Another fulfilling tour. Got to pull some snowmobiles out and go up in the mountains, and visit some local people in the villages and stuff. And it'd be amazing. They see you coming out of a snowmobile and they'd be like, "Oh my God, what is that?" Just shocked. Yeah,
those snowmobiles are awesome. They're horrible. Like the ones we have in the military are horrible.
Horrible.
But they're so much fun. I got to do the course out in Trail BC on the I'm trying to remember what they're actually called now. Anyway, doesn't matter the acronym they use, but we started with I think we had 25 or 26 of those snowmobiles, and by the end of the 5-day course we had 3.
Yeah.
We beat the shit out of them. We had broken steering columns. We were losing tracks left and center. Skis were flying off as we were rolling. It was crazy. But they're I could imagine in having never experienced anything like that before and living up in the mountains somewhere, and then all of a sudden you hear this and a bunch of soldiers come over the hill.
Yeah. And some Cape Breton jumps off a snowmobile,
Yeah.
and everybody's just looking at me like, "Who is this guy? What language is he speaking?" Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So that was another great tour, and when I came back from that tour, I got posted immediately to the second battalion down in New Brunswick. So I come back from tour. I think I want to say maybe a month or two later, I was showing up in Gagetown, New Brunswick, and kicking off with the second battalion. I showed up at the perfect time. There was a unique tour going on. It was only a company group plus a recce platoon, and they were getting ready to go to Africa, to Ethiopia and Eritrea. And so yeah, I showed up. I had all the qualifications for. I was a recce patrolman. We had the new Coyote at the time. So I was a driver. I was a gunner. I had the surveillance package. So it was kind of a no-brainer. They go clear in the recce platoon, and I walked in and they said, "Hey, we're deploying to Africa." I'm like, "Hey, I never took my tour leave yet," and literally took my tour leave, come back, put a gun in a bag, and I left for Africa. Yeah, so that was my welcome to 2RCR, and once again another interesting tour. It was under the UN, so we were Blue Beret, different type of tour altogether. We were attached to the Dutch, which was nice at some points, and yeah, very unique tour. Quiet once again. No, there was the threat level was pretty low. I think both sides wanted to. They were okay to stop fighting, so made for a pretty quiet tour for us. And yeah, I got to get my introduction into 2RCR recce platoon pretty quick, and meet a lot of fantastic, amazing people too.
So now this brings you to like 99.
That's 99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been in the military for 5 years, and you're at 3 tours.
Yeah.
In
So
the
yeah,
90s.
yeah, that was yeah. So that tour would have been actually that would have been 2000 because I was in Kosovo.
Okay.
For the, so it was 98 Bosnia, 99 Kosovo, 2000
That's
Africa.
that's insane. For
Yeah,
the average soldier, you're looking at one tour, maybe, well, at least when I was in, so in the early 2000s, you're looking, you might get one in 3 or 4 years,
yeah,
but
yeah.
to get 3 right off, like back to back to back, that's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah. It was good, and it was my time. I think I'm glad I did the tours younger as well.
Hmm.
Before I got married and kids came along and stuff like that. So it was nice to do those tours, and very fulfilling tours.
Okay, so then, September 11th happens and we start ramping up for Afghanistan. Everyone's like, this is 2001, shit's going down.
Yeah.
2002, or were you looking at Roto 0, or are you going in Roto 1? I don't remember who. I think the Pickleys went in first, right?
The Patricians, I believe, yes. I was still with 2RCR, still in recce platoon, and we weren't on the block to deploy. We did some pretty cool training. I think at one point they had us as the group that were going to go to Iraq if we were going to go to Iraq. So we were just kind of, sitting back waiting for our turn. We really didn't know when a warning order would come, but for us it didn't happen until we deployed on Task Force 107. So would have been 2007 before I deployed again. So
Wow.
from 2000, 2001 to 2007 with no deployments. So it was pretty quiet, especially when, something like Afghanistan was going on. You're sitting on a bench, you want to get up and bat, right?
Yeah, I remember sitting in training I first signed up in 2003, and then I had to wait 18 months due to some proclivities I had when I was a kid. And then and so I signed back up in 2005, and it literally through all the stages of the training, this is I did basic in January. I started basic January of 2006.
Yeah.
So by the time I was finished basic, Task Force 106 was on the ground, and they were fighting in Kandahar. We were, there were casualties coming in, and this was like our daily updates through our training. They were like,
Wow.
this is what you're getting into. Get ready for it. And so we were, all of 2006 was my training period. I got to 1CR in October of 2006,
Yeah.
and we started our workup January of 2007.
Isn't that crazy?
And like, it was like, we were like, we're going. Let's hit the road running. And you're right. Every single one of us was sitting in the training, but not even qualified yet, going, let's go. Like, just put me there. I'll learn on the fly. Like, let's get in it. It's
Yeah.
it's an interesting mentality that we have, that we're
Yeah.
looking for a fight.
You know, in our recce platoon with 2RCR, when we were preparing to go 107, we literally had the NCOs to fill our platoon. We had no troops at the time. And literally our recce platoon for their privates and corporals, they were in Meaford in battle school. And they literally graduated battle school, came to the 2nd Battalion. They didn't even have their kit yet. CMTT hasn't even shipped their kit to Gagetown. On Monday morning, they kicked off with a basic recce course because they were deploying to Afghanistan with recce platoon. Like, yeah, and I couldn't even imagine what was going through some of their heads at the time, you know, walking in the doors and going, well, and now I'm going on one of the harder courses in a battalion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we needed to pick 16 people. We took the whole battle school course. We put, I think there was like 26 of them, I want to say, on the course. And you know, we took our crew from there, you know, with a little bit of a harder course and, you know, a little bit of a selection for the platoon in there as well. But it was nice, you know, fresh right out of training. And these guys they just wanted to learn, right? No bad habits. They were just ready to go. And they definitely proved themselves, you know. So that was our first deployment, and that was 107. So Afghanistan was definitely a change of pace, going from Bosnia, Kosovo, African days to now I'm in recce platoon and I'm deployed in the dangerous place in the earth.
Yeah.
And
Straight kinetic ops, and you're going to town.
insane, you know. And we were, you know, we weren't even done our handover, which was another amazing experience for me because it was 1RCR recce platoon we did our handover with, and now I'm with 2RCR recce platoon. So I got to know I knew all the guys. It was a great time, great handover. It was like old days. But we dropped them off, and I think we were on day 7. So we dropped them off. They were going home, and we were in contact 2 hours later in Kandahar City with a vehicle, you know, down. The brakes are dynamited, the engine's gone, the gun's down, and RPGs are hanging out the side. And I think that was, you know, they probably didn't even take off from Kandahar Airfield yet, and that was our welcome to Afghanistan, right? And it definitely, I don't want to say that it was. I'm glad that happened early in the tour, but it definitely woke us all up. I think right off the bat in the tour, and we set us up for success for the rest of the tour.
That puts you right in the mindset, right? Like this isn't what we're used to. This isn't. We can't just drive down the road and go to town anymore. We can't go get beers with the locals. I can't
jump on a pedal bike and go for a ride on a Friday night. You know, you're in a dangerous place and there's bad people.
Yep. My first op, I think I had been in country for about 4 days, and we had to go up north to go save some Green Berets, like way up in northern Kandahar. And I, like, brand new, no idea what's happening, and I'm in front of an entire battle group clearing the road. Just my section is point, and we're just marching up VPS, and we're like, oh yeah, this is it right here.
Wow.
And we found a couple of IEDs on the road up there, and so that, like, this is my welcome to Afghanistan, boys. We're like, okay, let's hit it. But yeah, it's great that it happens right away, because you're not thinking like, oh well, maybe we can make it out of this. And when we showed up, my sergeant was like, not a question of if we get blown up, just a question of when, because really we're going to be in front all the time. See what happens, right? Like there's no way we're going to not find one the bad way. And we did, but we got lucky. We hit something small, but that's here or there. So you come back from 07, that would make you a sergeant at this point?
I was a sergeant. So I back in 07, I was a mass corporal, and then I got promoted soon after tour. I came back and got caught up in some career courses, and you know, and back to training. Got my advanced reconnaissance, some different qualifications, and then in 2010, I got called up in the chief's office, right? And you know, when the chief of the battalion calls you up, it's usually, my experience, not always a good thing. So,
that's not a good day.
I'm like, what did I do this time, right? And I was asked to go on deploy again to Afghanistan, but this time with 909 attack as part of their tactical crew. You know, it was a year-long deployment, just shy of a year by a couple of days. You know, I had to take a posting to Petawawa, and big shakeup for not only myself but my family as well. I got married at that point. I got, you know, um, three kids that are small still, and so anyway, uh, you know, I went home, chatted with the wife, and of course, you know, come back and say, yeah, man, I'm going for sure. You know, what I mean, it's one of the things. And so yeah, I come back and I said, oh, I'm going. And that was a Friday, and Monday morning I got a posting message. So I'm like, wait a second, I still got to sell my house. I got a family to move. So so I left my IRA to Petawawa for probably about 3 months, I guess. And you know, my wife sold a house in New Brunswick on her own. She come up and did a house hunt trip, which I got to meet up with her in Petawawa when she came. I was in training at the time to get ready to deploy, and bought a house. You know, she moved everything up, got settled, and yeah, I was gone a couple months later. And yeah, another amazing deployment. I was a sergeant at the time. A long deployment, very, very long, but amazing. Like working at a higher level, headquarters level like that, and but still being out on the ground. You know, going out and doing patrols. You know, meeting up with groups. Still giving you that, you know, that feeling of you're still an infantry guy, but getting to see everybody else. You know, all the business around you and seeing what all the puzzles coming together too. I guess seeing what everybody's doing out in the battle space, right? So it's definitely fun
Yeah,
tour.
I credit my my knowledge of how the unit works with
Yeah.
being put in the intelligence cell. Like when I got back from tour, I got put right into the in cell. Well, I was made a clerk for a little while. I had a troop clerk, so I got to learn all the admin stuff, which was actually really helpful. And then within like 2 or 3 months, I was the incel, and so now all of a sudden I'm working in our HQ with directly for the CO and the RSM. I'm briefing all the sergeant majors and the majors and above. Like it's it put me as a junior corporal. I'm all of a sudden working at the top, and you start to understand how the decisions are made and why the decisions are made and what our calendar looks like. And there was lots of times where I'd look at the schedule board in the ops and training room, right, and you just see huge blocks of time, and like the whole year is just blocked off. And yet the boys are down in the bay sitting around doing fucking nothing, going, what the hell? And
Yeah.
everybody from sergeant above is like, we're so busy. Oh my God, we have no time. But it's higher level ops, right? And so once I understood that, I was able to kind of alleviate some of the pressure on the boys once I got back into the squadrons. But it's true, you know, it's just being at that higher level of an operation or operational level, you learn so much, and it sets you up for success later on in your career. That if you can take it, that's the other part. Like you gotta be able to deal with the politics and the bullshit and all the other stuff that goes on there at that level, because it is not easy.
Not easy at all. No. Yeah.
Okay, so now that was a year-long tour in there.
Yeah, so I come back. So I deployed for a year. I got two vacation times. I have 2 HLTAs. So my family went to Australia and come back home and stuff, and it was nice. It was long though, and yeah, very, very long deployment. And you know, I don't think it's something that I would do again if I was still serving. You know. I come back from that deployment, and that would have been that was my last deployment. Come back in 2012. We come back. We were the last group in Kandahar. Moved up to Kabul after that, so we were the last group. I want to say we were the last vehicle that drove through the gate as a Canadian vehicle. I would say I'm pretty sure we were, because we had the 10th Mountain Division underneath us as well, so they were staying. So we went out for a visit. So I think we might have been one of the last Canadian vehicles that rolled through, you know, so pretty emotional day, I think, you know.
No doubt.
You know, when you roll back into camp that day, knowing that whole chapter is closing, and, you know, you think back of all these amazing people that, you know, lost their lives in service. And yeah, it was pretty emotional day. So I came back from deployment, and 2012, and then I went back to New Brunswick to do my my warrant officer's course, and completed that, got promoted right away, and posted right away. So I back to the for sale sign on the lawn, and I was supposed to go to Whitehorse right up to the last minute, and then they closed down Whitehorse. The little section up there that they were working out of closed down. So I posted to Meaford,
Nice.
Wasn't really sure about posting to Meaford. I'm like, I don't know about this, I didn't know Meaford. I've never been to Meaford. But now I could say it was probably one of my better postings I've ever had. I enjoyed Meaford, definitely enjoyed Meaford.
I said the same thing. It ended my career on a high note, right? Like I enjoyed being there so much, and I think it's more along lines of how the Army should work, right?
Yeah,
There was a lot of respect. There was no competition. There was no politics. The CO and the RSM worked really well together, and they were all about just like get the work done, right? Whatever it takes, you get the work done. We're happy, right?
yeah, yeah. Meaford was all, yeah. Yeah, and like Meaford for me was I had so many different roles. I started off on the floor running courses, where my heart was. I love that. I love developing and mentoring young soldiers. Right, like the passion of my career. So that was a great time. Got moved over to ops. Once again, great learning. I'm not going to say a great time because I'm not really about sitting behind a computer, doing ops work. But
What the infanteer
I
who's
know,
used to being at the front of the spear
yeah,
and recce is
I don't
not
like
liking computers?
like so ops was a great experience, lots of learning. Then I got moved over to the CQ, and I lucked out with that position really because it's usually go back to your unit to do your CQ, and this one was open, and I slid into the unit, right in Meaford, and finished up that stint. And while I was at CQ, ended up you know moving over to being the sergeant major of the company. The sergeant major at the time was he moved on, so the position was available, and I filled the position, and that was probably the highlight of my career. Like finishing off, the company sergeant major was probably the highlight by far. Like being able to just still go in the field with the troops, just pop out for a visit and get to see them doing stuff, made my day. And not sitting behind a desk, but getting to get out with the troops, right? So
Yeah.
that was definitely the highlight of my career, and that's where she finished off, man. I retired on October 29th of this year. I'm medically released, but almost 27 years. I had an amazing time. Loved every minute of it. And yeah, I am very blessed for going through a career in the military for sure.
It's a lifestyle. It is
Yeah,
it's not an easy life, but if you like being challenged, it's a good life to live because
yeah,
it will challenge you every day, all day long, even if it's challenging your ego, if it's challenging your patience, it's challenging your ability to handle stress. Like it's just there's so many great things about it. But so
yeah, sure.
27 years out, and now what? What are you doing now?
Well, so I transitioned out, and I was at the transition center for a while. I want to say over 3 years. Like I was there for a while. I was a little bit of a complex case. I was diagnosed with PTSD at the beginning, but I knew there was something else. There was something else that was going on with me. So, sure enough, I had a TBI. So I had that low blood flow in the left temporal area of the brain, and that was causing a lot of my issues. My balance, my coordination, and all that stuff. So I had over 3.5 years to plan, for my release. So I was very lucky in that aspect. Got myself where I needed to be, and set myself up for success. I think, within my community, I joined a local boxing club, Shipyards Boxing, and worked my way up through all my coaching courses. And now I coach there as a volunteer at the club. And that's my passion, and that's what I'm doing now is fitness and boxing. Doing the things with my family, my kids that I didn't get to do for a long time, and and just transitioning into being just an average Joe on the street here. Yeah,
Well, you'll never be an average Joe. I tell everybody that gets out, they're always like, "Oh, I'm going to get back into civvy life and how to be, got to learn how to be a civilian again." And it's not true. You
yeah,
are 100% a veteran,
yeah,
period. And it's the only title that no one can take from you, right?
yeah,
You
for sure.
you straight up earned it.
Yeah,
No one can take it away from you, and it is something to hold on to too, because a lot of guys, they have an issue with looking at their past selves of being a soldier,
yeah,
and then they look at themselves now as a civilian, in air quotes here, but it's not correct, right? You
Yeah.
don't become a civilian once you're out, you just become a veteran.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it's very important to remember. I always harp on that. So you touched on your transition a little bit here. And Meaford was great for this because I had the similar transition when I got out. Was there was a VA staff in Meaford in one of the buildings there that like their only job was to look after the people getting out, and there weren't a lot of people getting out from Meaford either. So
No.
I had like 100% attention. They gave me every piece of paperwork I could possibly fill out within the 2 month span I had left, and I just spent hours there signing my name on application. They're just like, we're going to apply for everything, and they're going to either turn it down or they're going to approve it, and we'll see where the dice roll out. And I was like, oh yeah, all right, cool, sounds good. So you were saying your transition was similar, but you had a lot more time.
Yeah, a lot longer time. I mean, me for the transition unit there is amazing. Anyway, the people that have their, and Soldier On, Jamie's there, he's amazing. Jackie, amazing again. Larissa and like everybody that's there, Charles, Greg, all them guys, they're there, and that's their passion, right? They are there to help, and so very lucky to be in Meaford, where it's a small group. I think at the high time when I was, in my 3 years there was, I think we might have had 12 people. So it's a small group in that transition center, not like Petawawa or New Brunswick or something like that, right? They have a lot of people there. So yeah, I got to take it full advantage of all the tools that I needed. Speaking with the Veterans Affairs lady, SISUP, and everybody. So my transition went really smooth. But I will say one thing is you need to own that transition. And if you're not willing to own the transition and do the steps that are required, then you won't be successful, because all those people that are there to support you, I think the key word is support. And a lot of people think, I'm getting out, somebody's going to do it all for me. Nope, nobody's doing it for you. And on D-1, nobody's doing it for you. You need to be involved, and you got to own it. And
yeah. Well, I was going to ask you what your one tidbit of information for somebody trying to transition out, but I guess that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, you got to own it. I'd say it, and as well is get fit. And when I mean that is it's not just fitness, like going and running and working out, fitness, mental fitness. If you're a smoker, take advantage of that transition period. All these amazing resources they have. Go, get healthy. Don't quit smoking if you can. You chewing. That was one of my things for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And go see a dietitian. We have those, and all these resources that we have through PSP and so be it, and get yourself ready to be a healthy, that way, when you finish up on a Friday and Monday morning, like the way the transition is supposed to be, you start school, you get your 2 years worth of schooling. Well, then 2 years could be successful, I think, if you owned it and got yourself fit and ready to walk out that door.
Well, the one thing I learned in advocacy work and doing with the Walk for Veterans and all this other stuff is that no one can help you but you, right? Like, people can help in terms of like they can offer support, and they, as you said, they can support you, but they can't actually make you do the work. You still have to do the work. You have to actually go to the meetings. You have to actually be willing to change, or be willing to adjust, or be willing to, and it's kind of hilarious because we always say adapt and overcome, adapt and overcome, adapt and overcome. And then people get out of the military and they're like, I'm not changing for shit. It's like, goes completely against to what everything we train for. But,
so true.
And we were talking yesterday, and I don't know how many people I've seen get out, and then they're like, oh, I figured someone would send something to me, or I figured I would get, like, people would tell me where to go or what to do. And it's like, you're not in the army anymore, man. You have to actually be the one to, you have to be. And the other part was, we were talking about that was like, when you do your medical, you have to be advocating for yourself. You have to talk to the doctor and not give a shit. Like, when he says, no, you're fine, we don't have any paperwork on it. It's like, no. Yeah. I want this on paper, and I want it right now. Do it right here. Sign your fucking name on it. And it's hard for a lot of guys, because it is, man. Like, mentally, we have this state of mind where that guy told me to do something. Yeah. Roger that. off you go,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I had a guy in Meaford to get out, and he's out now. He was out at the time about 2 or 3 months, and I'm not receiving my pension.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to receive it if you don't fill out the pension package. Like it's pretty cut and dry, right? So
Yeah.
if you're sitting waiting for someone to do that, that's probably sitting in a top filing cabinet waiting for you to come back and fill it out, right? So you need to do it, and you need to advocate for yourself, right?
It's not fun, but it is something that needs to be done. And
Yeah.
I learned that very early on. And what I think it was actually when I was working for you at one point, I can't remember what it was. You signed off for something and you were like, yeah, this is fine, no problem. And I was like, are you allowed to do that? And you're like, I don't fucking care, man. I'm a warrant. It takes a general to charge me. It was just the give a fuck factor on that was unbelievable. Like there was, oh, I'm good, man. You do it. And that's the kind of attitude you need to go into your transition with is, I don't care. Fucking do it right.
Yeah. And it's not just for you, it's your family as well, right? So if you don't do that, you still have a family that's behind you, still counting on you to, support and do all your, your duties as a parent. And you can't do that if you don't have, any resources to do it with, like a paycheck. Do that, So it's definitely advocating for yourself and getting that.
And the Army will fucking run you over. They don't give that. Like we were talking about this the other day, is it's the machine, right? The machine will keep fucking moving. And if you don't get your shit ready, they will throw you out the back and you will not like the landing, right?
Yeah. But and no fault on their own. It's just that big machine that goes, right? And you don't get that moment, to get yourself ready. You might miss that moment pretty quick and realize that 6 months too late.
Yep. And I mean, we've all been on the back of MLs and we've all been rolling around on 6x, and you can get tossed out of those things pretty easy if you're not sitting properly, if you're not, the guy next to you actually has you pressured into the door. Those latches can come off if they're not put on right. And it's the same thing. Yeah, exactly. You're like, if you don't have that, bye, you're going out. And it's the same thing with transition. If you aren't doing the paperwork, if you aren't doing the work, you will get tossed out the door on your release date and no one is stopping you, right? That's bye-bye. That's it, right? So this, it leads into what we want to talk about. And you put a post out on social media, I can't remember when, months back, and you were talking about the truck. And it keyed in my head because that was always a fear for like everybody that I know that went through training. The truck was oh shit, I don't want to be on that fucking truck. So for anybody that doesn't know, can you explain to everybody what the truck is?
Yeah. So the truck, the truck could be pretty much anything, but for myself, it was literally a truck. So this, every time you do a march, you're doing long distance or whatever, you always have that safety vehicle that follows behind, and sometimes up front. And we used to call it the man-eating truck. And the sergeants and the mass corporals would be, going up and down around the platoon, and who wants to get on the truck? And it's all about pride, right? It's like, I'm not getting on that truck. I'm not getting on that truck. But that truck is failure. That truck is, it's where I do not want to be. It's that place. It's a man-eating truck, right? And to watch people, knowing that vehicle is behind them or in front of them, hear them people yelling, who wants to get on a truck? They get mentally defeated and they get on the truck. It's, do you want to walk the extra, 8 kilometers, 9 kilometers, or do you just want to sit on the back of that truck? And sometimes when the truck had a few people on it, they would pull it around the front, and just so you could see everybody in the truck. Once again, I'm not getting on the truck, and the head would be up, you're digging in the heels and you're pushing along. And for me, it was quitting. And, I use that analogy because, going through a transition, going through everything, I don't want to fail. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get on that truck. Like, no matter what, I'm not getting on that truck. I'm going to push forward. I'm going to every day get up, get ready, go out and do my PT, go coach my boxing, do what I got to do, but I'm not going to get on the truck. Right. And that truck, it can be so many things, and you relate it to being a civilian or something like that. It's all about failure, right? That's what that truck is. it's making sure you have the power not to get on
Yeah.
that truck, right?
I look at it as absolute failure because, you know, the truck is there for a reason, right? Like it is a safety vehicle,
Yeah,
technically. So like if you were to get hurt, you would get put on the truck
for
and be
sure.
brought forward, right? But in the more mythical sense, I guess, or the symbol, I don't know. Anyway, the idea of it, right, is that it is absolute failure. You have totally given up,
Yeah,
and you're like you're not even going to worry about the idea anymore. It's just done.
done that.
And you're it was such a poignant idea that when I read it, I was like, that is so accurate to life because
Yeah,
you can have this grand idea, you know, I want to open a business. I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And then you can try and fail and then stop. That's getting on the truck, right? You're just didn't work the first time. I'm done. Fuck this noise. I'm out.
yeah,
Or you can readjust, figure it out, and carry on. Same way, like if you're marching along in front of that truck and you start to get shin splints, they hurt, right?
yeah,
You can either you can dig in for the grind and be like, this is gonna suck, but I'm not getting on that truck.
not yet.
Or you can, you know, limp for a while or change your stride or do whatever you need to do to keep moving, or you can just stop.
Yeah,
And you're going to that truck, right? And it is
it's the easy way out, right?
it is the easy way out. Yep, that's exactly
Easy
it.
way out, right? This could be a 16-kilometer march, or this could be 4 years in university, or I just drop out and get on the truck.
Yep.
You know, it's that truck represents everything in life. It's where you do not want to be, and you know, setting yourself up for success. And you mentioned it there, you know, as combat arms guys getting out as veterans. You know, the first thing we want to do is, oh, got to get a new career.
Yeah.
Monday morning, like, nope, you don't. You need to slow down and get yourself back on the tracks, right? And set yourself up for success so you don't get on that truck. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, we don't just, well, I mean, sometimes this happens, but you don't normally just like show up Monday morning and they'll be like, okay, everybody, we're going to go for a 30K march.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen, right? Nor there's a build up to it. There's,
Yeah.
you know, we're going to go for a 10K march tomorrow. Everybody be ready, show up with this kit and this gear, blah, 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 your ruck should weigh, blah.
Yeah.
So there's a build up to it. And I don't think we do that enough in transition work where guys get out and they're just like, okay, I need to work. I need to work. Where's the next job? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And then they burn themselves into the ground, right? Like it's just, they work themselves to death. They work themselves to failure, or they won't admit that they have mental health issues, or maybe they are admitting it. They're just not doing the right work, or they're not seeing the right doctor. And I mean, I saw the first psychologist I saw when I got out was horrible for me, at least. Like it was not the right guy for me to see. And he made me worse every week for a year. And it wasn't until I was talking to another buddy of mine and he was like, you know, you can actually just see whoever you want, right? I was like, what? Oh,
What?
okay, cool. Let me go look some up. And so that's where I saw really massive growth or betterment in terms of my own mental health, was because I was seeing somebody that worked for me. But I would never have gotten there had I not been willing to actually, like, okay, this isn't working, right? And recognizing that it wasn't working for me. And some guys they'll keep going and they'll keep going and they'll keep going, and then they just run themselves into a wall. And then that truck runs them over.
And that truck, right? And you know what, that truck for myself as well, it's a huge visualization tool, right? It's weird because we talk about this in the military about resiliency training and visualization, breathing and talking like that, positive self-talk. And now I look at those and, visualization's huge for me myself. A few years back, I ran the Washington Marathon and with the Marine Corps Marathon, and visualization got me through that marathon. Like if it wasn't for that tool, knowing that this bridge is at 5 kilometers, and going through it in my head, there's 2 more big turns. I'm going to hit an aid station, but that's what life is after transition is planning and setting yourself up for success and visualizing. Like for myself, when I'm doing my fitness, I'm visualizing that truck. I'm thinking like, man, if I don't do this stuff, I'm not going to be healthy. If I'm not healthy, I can't go on to a second career, or whatever it is I'm going to do in the next 20 years of being able to walk, probably all the
Yeah.
injuries I got, but yeah.
But you bring up an interesting point there, is that it's it's you who's driving the truck, right?
Yeah.
You're the one that's setting the goals. You're the one that's setting how fast that truck is coming after you or not coming after you or whatever. Like, it is, again, solely in your it is in your wheelhouse to actually figure out where you're going to go, because your truck and my truck are not the same, right?
Not.
Like, I'm not running marathons. Not
No.
happening. I have no desire to, right? It's not something that I really want to do. But I'll roll jiu-jitsu all day, right? Like,
Yeah.
I will not let up, because that's what I enjoy. But I also enjoy podcasting. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy being, doing stuff for the walk and helping my brothers and blah, blah, blah. So my truck is pointed in a different direction. It's not going as fast as yours is right now, because you're running away from it.
Yeah.
But again, the thing is, like, you have to realize that it's still you. It's not somebody else that's driving the truck. No one else is trying to run you over. So you're setting the pace.
Yeah.
And if you need time, set a slighter goal, or a goal that's manageable, and then slow the truck down a little bit. Give yourself that time. And my psychologist always calls it giving yourself grace, or being gracious in how you heal.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn that with I don't know, like everything. Pain, especially, that was the big one where, I'm an engineer. I like to do things the hard way. I know, right? And there was a point in time where I was in a lot of pain when the weather was shifting. Fall and spring are really hard, because as it gets colder and the pressure drops, on a human barometer, right? Everything starts to ache, and just, it's so painful. And I wasn't boosting my meds in order to manage that pain. I was just like, I'll just deal with it. But it turned me into an asshole, right? Like, I couldn't deal with my kids. I could barely deal with my wife. I didn't want to deal with the walk, or doing videos, or like all this other shit. And all it would have taken was me to go, okay, you know what? I'm in more pain. I can take a little bit extra meds to manage that pain and not be, a drug addict, right? But that's in my head. It was one or the other. I'm either taking it just manageable, or I'm a fucking drug addict.
Yeah. It's true, right?
But it's something that you have to learn, and you have to be willing to learn it. That's the other part, is like that you are still driving.
Yeah. and you can control that truck. Yeah. And you're the fuel. Yeah. That truck doesn't go nowhere without you. You're fueling that truck. And taking, like you're saying, goal setting, and giving yourself, goals that are achievable, and, getting out on a Friday and thinking you're going to be the CEO of Canadian Tire on Monday it's not achievable, right? Unless you're married into the family or something, but, being, making yourself them clear goals and taking your time, and it's your pace.
Yeah. We used to do the same thing, though, this is always so surprising. We have all these tools, and we just need to learn how to apply them in the right direction. And, even in recce, basic reconnaissance patrol, right? You come up with 3 COAs. The reason you have 3 COAs is that shit happens, right? And you need to be able to shift and adjust and go down this route instead of that route, or, and then on top of that, you have checkpoints. You're not just going, okay, I'm going to go from here to there. Cool. Everybody good? Roger. Let's go. Like, no, you have, okay, I'm going to hit this report line. I'm going to hit that report line. I'm going to hit this report line. And then I'm going to be at my objective. And then I'm going to let everybody know that I'm at my objective. And then I'm going to come back. Blah, blah, blah. Right.
Yep.
Communication is huge. And that's all stuff we learned. That's all stuff that we've been taught.
Yeah.
We can just do it. We just need to apply it to our lives and go, okay, well, the objective is, I want to be a happy, healthful, helpful, useful part of society, right? That's a huge goal.
Yeah.
How do you get there? Break it down into smaller parts. Okay, I need to get healthy. I need to get physically, if I have injuries, I need to work on those. If I have mental health issues, I need to work on those. And just break it down. And, I'm doing a lot of writing, and that's one of the things that I've been doing is, like, I write down a very large this is what's going to happen. And then I break that down into 3 or 4 points.
Yeah.
And then I break each one of those points into 3 or 4 points. And then I break the other 3, because
you're building waypoints, right?
And that's the key, at least my way. Like, that's, for me, that's how I stay in front of my vehicle, of my truck, right? Is that I keep my planning small, and I can hit these incremental goals, and you start to realize that you are making progress.
Yeah.
An inch or a mile is still forward movement.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep doing that.
Yeah, for sure. And planning for those speed bumps along the way. And what happens if I do have one, plan it, it makes it a lot easier to visualize it when you already went through that planning phase. When we sit down and we do that map model on the ground, and where everybody put your pens and papers down, and they give that scheme of maneuver, he's telling you exactly what you need to do. You just needed to go here, you got to do this, it's broke down into simple little steps. Everybody looks at it, and when I walk away from those orders, I got a picture in my head already. I seen it. He had on the ground there. I knew the building. I know there's a road there. I know how to get down that road. And then when you get there, it's retrieving that information, and it's visualization. Going through the steps in your head. And I think we need to do more of that, right? And I look a lot at those skills that we learned in the military, and like you were saying earlier about switching over and being a civilian. Well, you can still be a veteran. You don't need to be a civilian. Taking all those great tools we learned, they go a long way in the average community. Like your leadership skills, your resiliency, like everything you have goes so far, and transfer them over to civilian skills. I talk about after action review, and I do AARs on myself all the time. I sit down and I'm like, okay, man, let's have a check-in here. How are you doing today? And I write stuff down, and I'm like, man, I was a bit of an asshole today. Like, I need to sort that out, right? And I didn't do this today. I didn't spend time where I should have spent time, maybe with my kids, my family, and after action, reviewing it and write down some notes to make me a better person tomorrow, right? And there's skills we learn in the military every day. We just take them and switch them over to City Street.
Yeah. It's not easy by any means, and
not at all.
but we have the skill sets. We just have to be able to utilize them, right? And one of the things that we were chatting about the other day I was kind of laughing, was I never had the opportunity to get on the truck because in the actual ruck marching, because I was always the marker. Right? I was the tallest guy, right? So they're like, okay, here's the vest, guess what? And I had no choice. It was you, and the worst part of it was, it's like you're constantly running, right? You're going back and forth. So anytime you come up to a road, I got to run all the way to the front, stop at the road, let everybody pass, then catch up to the line. If somebody is falling back, I got to grab them by the shoulder, run them back to the front of the line, put them in front, go back to my position. And then so I remember I did this one ruck march I think it was in Gagetown, and I spent the entire 13K running, just the whole way. I was running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and people were dropping out like flies. Oh, it was the final Exxon in basic. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I think I ran probably half a marathon easily.
Yeah.
Just back and forth, because I don't think I stopped. I was running we hit the water point, and I would run the extra 500 meters or so just to get there, fill up their water for them, get mine to do 3 or 4 of them, let everybody pass me, and then catch up, and like, here's your water. And it was insane.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of guys come up to me afterwards, and after they made it through that march without getting on the truck, and they were buying me beers, and they were like, man, I would never have made it through that if you hadn't grabbed me 4 or 5 times. And guys would be like, man, that water that you gave me saved my fucking ruck. That I could not have made it without that. And I started realizing a little while ago that we have those markers in life, right? There are people out there that are just, they're trying their best to make sure that you succeed, and they will help you. They will drag you if necessary, but you still have to put left, right. You got to put your foot in front of you, right? Because if I'm going to drag someone to the front as a marker, they have to come with me.
Yeah.
Even if I'm dragging them, they still have to be moving forward. Because if they don't, I'm not dragging them.
No.
It's just, they're going to hit the ground and be like, well, fuck. And I'll try and motivate them, and I'll, yell at them and get your ass in line and blah, blah, blah. We have to get moving. And even as an instructor, when we were in Meaford, I did the same thing. We had guys that would they started falling back, and I would be right there with them. I'd be running
Yeah.
beside them, like, let's fucking go. Just keep moving, just keep your feet
Yeah.
moving. Don't stop, keep moving. And, you know, recognizing who those people are in life
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah.
And what I found was that the people that wanted to help me the most, the markers that I call them in my life, were those were the ones that were just happy to see me succeed. It didn't
Yes.
matter what it was, right? It was just, they were happy that I was doing something. When I got out of the military, they were happy. When I got into school, they were happy. When I decided I didn't want to go to that school, I wanted to go to that school, they were happy. Like, it was just cool, man. You're moving forward. You're making decisions. Awesome. And it's really important to find those people, but it is it's not easy.
Not, no, it's definitely not easy, man. And it's a long road, right? And it's, I think, starting off with that foundation first, and making sure that you're fit, you're mentally fit, you're physically fit, you maintain all those injuries, give them the treatment they require, and get yourself ready to go. And all that stuff can be done prior to even transitioning, right? You could take care of a lot of that stuff, but if you're not in the right mindset, that transition period could go really, really shitty, right? And then you get out, and after you get the help, you look back and go like, man, if I had had all this help, my transition would have been a lot easier. Maybe I could have went to school and achieved a trade or whatever it is you wanted to do afterwards. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And there's so many great. It's moving along. The transition units are, leaps and bounds where they were 10 years ago. Like, it's amazing. They went from, a spot where it kind of like, just if you were injured, you went over there, and now it's a full transition. So everybody at 6 months goes over there, and it's great to see everybody getting that time. Whether you're injured or you're not injured, you still need to transition, and that is difficult for everybody leaving the military, and it can't be taken lightly, right? You gotta know your goals. You gotta set yourself up for success. You gotta drive that truck. You gotta drive that truck and make sure you're going, in the right direction, and set yourself up.
It's not, you're 100% right, but it is one of the hardest things, especially, the other problem I found was that once you're out, like the day you leave, that's it, right? I found that one of the hardest parts was handing in all my kit. All this was like your life for
I hear you, man.
years. And then you're just handing it back, like, here you go, man, here you go. And it's kind of exciting, but there's also this, like, by the last 3 or 4 pieces of kit, you're like, I don't really want to get rid of this. And I don't, and so
many great memories, right?
Yeah. But once you're gone, that's it, right? You always hear, oh, this unit is a family, we want to take care of our guys and blah blah blah. But again, it's the machine has to keep rolling, right? So as soon as you're out, that's it. You're all gone.
That whole huge identity thing as well, I think, and that's a beast on its own, right? And knowing you're no longer a rank and a last name, and and for those that are up in those ranks, they need to understand that they're no longer holding that rank 2 days after they're out, right? You can't just show up somewhere and order people to do stuff. You're just another average Joe on the street, right? And I think that whole identity thing is massive as well, and trying to overcome that, Ian, and especially overcoming that with mental health issues, physical issues, and trying to set yourself up for the successful transition. It's hard. It's definitely hard, and but only one person can do it, right? Yourself.
And there's a couple things that I really fall back on when I'm talking about stuff like this, and one of them was, when we were doing basic mountain ops, you'd climb up to the top of a mountain or climb up to a hill or a wall face or whatever, and you get to the top, and the first thing you have to do is turn around and put your hand out for the next guy that's coming up on the ridge. And I think that's such a perfect allegory too, because we all want to do that. Like you want to get out and you're like, okay, who's next, right? And I'm gonna help you, but you can't do that unless the ground is secure, right? You still have to be watching your arcs. You still have to be looking forward. You have to make sure that you're not just going to get shot in the back when you go to help somebody up off the ridge. And I liken this to my markers too, because when I was when I got to Meaford, I was bitter. I was an angry corporal that was not happy. But I, working with you guys and working under you, I had this when I try to remember what it was. Oh, you asked me if we could do bat sim that one day, and I was like, I can do bat sim, sure. Yeah, what do you want? And you were like, I don't know, do whatever. And I was like, all right, cool, I can do whatever. And so I came up with this plan, and I remember making a PowerPoint presentation for you and everything.
Awesome.
And I handed it off to you, but you gave me, as we were saying, like this wasn't a 100% scheme maneuver. You gave me an intent. I want bat sim, and I want it for my final X. Want it to be cool. Have at her. And
you're the expert.
Yeah. Expert. Yeah, but well, I was expert. I knew my shit. Yeah, but and then I came back to you with a plan. But that's why I liken you to the marker position, because that's what you did. You were able to take me from being, sitting around going, yeah, okay, I'm not really doing much except for, teaching machine guns and blowing the odd thing up. And then you were like, okay, see what you can do.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it's that little bit of motivation in terms of you're pushing, but you're not. So you're like dragging me by the shoulder almost. You're like, okay, come on, this is the way. Just keep going this way. And that helped me have like a really excellent time when I was there, because again, you weren't scared to help me. You weren't scared to tear me down if I needed to be torn down.
Yeah.
But you were willing to hand me the reins and be like, cool, man.
Yeah.
You do you.
Yeah.
And
of course, being successful is, I think, as well, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I was going to say, you also scared the living crap out of me when we were on the range and you couldn't figure out how to pull smoke. Almost killed us all. But it was no, it was good. It was awesome times. I had a blast working for you, and I mean, I learned so much, not only from this conversation, but from working for you years ago. And I can't thank you enough for what you've done. We're just a bit over time right now, but do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to say to the world?
Well, yeah, Chance, it's once again, you talk about that reaching back. You're doing that, man. You're doing that in this podcast. You're doing this every day with your the walks for veterans, like all that stuff. You're doing that every day. You're climbing that mountain. You're turning around, reaching back, and you're pulling buddies up with you. So I applaud you for that, man. It's great to see. Just there's a lot of guys that I get out that I follow through podcasts or fitness or something, and it's amazing to see when you work with somebody years ago and now you see them and they're doing something pretty cool. It puts a smile on your face. So thanks for reaching out to me, and you put a smile on my face, man. You made my day. Yesterday you called, like, when we chatted, and I'm very happy that you're doing well, and thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. If anybody wants to follow you or know more about you social media wise, do you have any handles, things like that?
So I'm on Instagram at Never Passing Fault. That's where and so our motto of the Royal Canadian Regiment, never pass off fault. Mine is never passing fault, and taking my own responsibilities for everything that happened. And so that's my handle, never passing fault, and something I'll stick to the rest of my life.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, brother, thank you again. This has been fantastic. You get to be my inaugural video guy as well. Yeah. So again, I can't thank you enough. This has been absolutely wicked.
And my dog's only barked once.
Yeah, there you go. So it's all good.
Yeah.
All right, brother. That concludes this episode of The Toolbox. I want to thank you for listening. I hope you were able to use some of the information that was offered. I want to thank all those putting it on the line for us every day. Military, veterans, first responders, and public servants. Keep up the good work. I look forward to bringing you more tools for your toolbox. And until next time, stay open, stay humble, and stay focused. Chimo.